In this video, I'll be talking about attribution. This is a very important part of the iGEM process. Just as when you're writing a research article, you need to document anything that you got from any other source, whether research articles, conferences, individuals, websites. You do that on the page with a citation. You also do it at the end of the document with a reference. Similarly, when you're doing something for iGEM, on whatever page you mention that person, that's like a citation. But you also have to put them in the attribution, just like you put the references at the end of an article. Now, if you look at the criterion on the iGEM page for attribution, it says, the attribution requirement helps the judges know what you did yourselves and what you had help with. You are allowed to get help with difficult or complex techniques, but you must document this help clearly. You must report the work that your team did and any work that was done by others. So there are two purposes of attribution. Number one, you have to separate what your team did from what others did. Number two, it's an acknowledgement and thanks for those that helped. So it's important to document what your team did. Now, this is not just a matter of which group they were part of, wet lab, dry lab, human practices. And you don't have to document every single thing that they did. This person helped with this particular plasmid, this particular part of the experiment. Again, on the attributions page, it shows some categories, and you can use those as a guideline for the degree of specificity that you need. It's not just wet or dry lab, and it's not extremely specific, but sort of intermediary. On the other hand, for what other people did, you have to clearly state who provided the team members with different kinds of support. General support, lab support, wiki support, presentation coaching, human practices support. All of those need to be carefully documented. Now let me give you an example from the iGEM 6 team this past year. On their engineering page, they talked about a necessary redesign in their work. And they talked about 3 individuals here. And let me show you how they documented this on the engineering page versus the attribution page. The first one, the secondary PI, Dr. Lee, admired the CSPA promoter designs and gave some suggestions for dealing with protein aggregation. Okay, that's good. And then in the attributions, it says that Dr. Lee shared her experience with past iGEM teams and reviewed the technical issues. Okay, reviewed the technical issues addresses this giving suggestions for dealing with the protein aggregation. But it doesn't say, was it sort of a general lab technique, or were you having difficulty with this and she gave you some very specific ideas? So that's a difference in terms of the categories that are listed on the iGEM site. Try to be as specific as possible. Here's the second one. However, unexpectedly, another advisor, Dr. G. Rao, sent some references showing that DHA and EPA had different effects in CVD prevention, and they list a reference. But if you looked at the attributions page, it says Dr. G. Rao instructed and reviewed our monthly team presentation, made corrections on the English of our team, wiki, team poster, and promotion video. It doesn't mention anything about this major change in direction for the team. That should have been on the attributions page. And then there's another one, further consultation with a cardiologist, name not shown by request, from National Taiwan University Hospital, supported the opinion that EPA but not DHA is functional in CVD prevention. And this doctor is not mentioned at all in the attributions. Now, he or she did not want their name mentioned, but you should still have on the attributions page, cardiologist from National Taiwan University Hospital, name withheld by request, and say that they confirmed that it was EPA, not DHA, that was the active ingredient. There's another difference that you need to be aware of in speaking to someone versus writing about them. There was a person that they consulted, a dietitian, and that dietitian apparently said, "Call me Miranda," a young woman that wanted to be on a more personal basis with the team. Nevertheless, when you are writing about that person in the attributions on your wiki, you need to give their proper title, either Ms. or Doctor, whatever is appropriate based on their position. And that means that you need to be clear about the person's names, their title, their position. All of that should be recorded every time that you talk to anyone. Record what each one did, what each one said. iGEM recommends for the attributions that you use a table. You don't need to duplicate the team member list. You don't need to duplicate and have a separate set of photos. It says for the attributions, consider a table. You can simply list the names of the team members, then a separate table listing the names of non-team members, and what each one contributed to the project. And that's a very clear and easy way for the judges to see that you have properly attributed everything to the right people. Make that list at the very beginning, make a table, and each time you meet with somebody, add another line to that table. Each time you meet with a person again, add another attribution to what they did. And then at the end, you can simplify, you can reduce it so that it's not too specific, but you have all of that in one place. Again, this is a matter of write as you go, so that you have all the information in one place and aren't trying to collect it from various things or from your memory. And then later you can incorporate that into the wiki page. So again, this is not just an iGEM requirement, this is also an ethical requirement, because it's a recognition of those who helped. If someone helped you and doesn't find that you gave them credit, they may be less willing to help a future team. So it's important not just for your team, but for other teams in the future as well.